Hey guys, Dr. Baker here. Let's address one of the more common mythologies out there. And this is the myth or the belief that our brain needs carbohydrates in order to function. And without those, we just can't function. Something around 100, 130 grams of carbohydrates are claimed to be necessary daily to allow our brain to function. Now, while it's true that our brain will utilize glucose to some degree and can also use ketones, by the way, it is not carbohydrate. It's not dietary carbohydrate that is required. It is required glucose, which we very easily can produce through a process called gluconeogenesis, which is performed in many cells, and it can use a substrate such as amino acids or things like glycerol, which come from fatty acids, or triglycerides in particular, rather. And the sort of next thing I'll say when you say, well, that's clearly not the case, I'll say, well, it's stressful in the body to have to produce, to perform gluconeogenesis. Without gluconeogenesis, you would in fact all be dead. That is every time you go to sleep while you're not actively eating, gluconeogenesis is occurring. So this is a normal physiological process which we are well adapted to, we are well designed for, and we get more efficient at it, by the way. As we eat less carbohydrates, become more efficient at gluconeogenesis. The belief that, it requires lots of cortisol and you'll have this hypercortisolemia because of this is also another thing that they will often say. These rapey people often will say things like that. That's long-term bad for the body. Once again, this is completely unfounded. There is no long-term data that would suggest that. There's even studies that show that slight mild elevations in cortisol can actually be beneficial in many ways. So again, this is just, sort of a tautological argument. It is our belief that we need carbs and therefore not eating them is somehow bad because there's physiology that adapts to that, and that physiology must be bad, right? That is the mindset that they start out with, that because we think something's bad, everything associated with that is clearly a sign of being bad. There are many reasons why, for example, we have changes in biomarkers. It could be glucose, for instance. Elevated glucose, many people will say it's bad because it's associated with diabetes. But guess what? When you exercise, intense exercise will drive your blood glucose up. Certain physiological, say if you have an illness, your blood glucose will go up in order to help combat that illness. So there are reasons for changes in biomarkers. We can make the same argument about cholesterol. We can make the same argument about testosterone, vitamin D, so on and so forth. All these things are subject to physiological shifts, many of which are completely normal, and sometimes they're pathological. The question is, why is it elevated or depressed? That really is what's telling here. And without understanding that or having the insight into that, it is folly to make those sort of predictions or projections because you don't know what you're talking about. And mostly, to be honest, most of the science doesn't know yet. So anyway, ignore those people that say you have to have carbs for your brain to function. Clearly, if I had to have carbs for my brain to function, I wouldn't be able to make this video, which I'm doing right now. Okay, guys? All right, have a great one. We'll talk to you soon.